Nina Zapala here. This is a place we talk about personality typing with spiritual understanding. And I'm rubbing my hands because I'm freezing. Oh well. Anyway, this week on the blog, I'm going to be talking about Christmas stories, your favorite Christmas movies, and how these remarkable personas seem to just stay in our lives. I mean, there's so many classic movies that we can't wait to see. And what are these personas, these characters in these movies, what are they here to teach us? As I started writing this blog, I started seeing a pattern. It's my personality type. I'm a pattern girl. And what I saw, and I think what correlates with you personally, is the movies that you're attracted to are really part of the hero's journey within that movie. And so when I talk about the hero's journey, for many of these popular Christmas movies and other movies that have just have staying power and that just kind of stay in the culture, and we revisit them, whether it's seasonally or whether it's something we just keep on going back to and can't get enough of. And so, we're talking about kind of like the hero's journey. For me, my hero's journey was my 7-year life tsunami. It's the time you kind of like you're put into a situation and you're there to wake up, right? You need to wake up. Something in you wants to awaken. And so as we look at these Christmas movies, and I'm going to go into a couple of my favorites, and I'm going to ask you to, when you're watching Christmas movies this year, what are your favorite Christmas movies? And then, I'm going to include this journal prompt in the blog. And so do the takeaway from that movie. First, list your favorite Christmas movies and figure out what this character, what this persona in the movie, what's their journey? What are they searching for? Because they're all searching for something, and we as humans, we continually search for something to better ourselves, to find ourselves, to become more of service, to have more meaning in our life, to have more fulfillment. For some, it's legacy living. What legacy are we going to leave behind? And so in these Christmas movies, these characters are looking at that. And I think that's what resonates with us so deeply. It's because we're looking for the same thing. Right? Makes sense? So I'm going to review a couple. I think I reviewed 5 in the blog. Let me look here real quick. Yeah, I did. Okay, so I'm going to start with one of my favorites. And it's a Charlie Brown Christmas, which I love. I love Charlie Brown, And now that I'm really getting authentic and getting on with myself, I'm like, Snoopy, his dog, is kind of a jerk to him. I'm like, Snoopy, you're not as cool as I thought you were. So that's why it's fun. When you start getting into these movies, take a journal out and start writing down, don't make it like a homework thing or make it a big deal, because I know the holidays are crazy. But it is good during the holidays to take some perspective and take some you time. It's good for your mental health, first of all, to take time for yourself. And if you're a person that's a seeker, if you're a person that wants to evolve out of the crap that we're in right now, all the shenanigans that's going on, and you don't want to play in that anymore, you don't want to play in that sandbox, you're here, you're here to do something, and you're not here to live in fear. That's what I'm saying. Take some time this holiday season, and when you're watching these movies, just journal a little bit. What in these characters, and it might not be Charlie Brown, it might be Lucy. Lucy's so funny. You're all I want for Christmas is real estate, which I love. She's great. Anyway, but the reason I love Charlie Brown, and he is at a place where he is sincere and he wants to make the world a better place. And he's not about all the commercialism and all of the stuff, right? And he just feels like he doesn't fit in. He doesn't feel like he's fitting with the cultural flow of the season. His dog Snoopy's, getting the house all ready for the big, contest of, who's going to have the best, most decorated house. So Snoopy's decorating his little dog house, and of course he wins. But Charlie Brown's like, okay, great, even my dog's into that. So he knows in his heart there's more to the season than commercialism. Then he goes to save that tree, and then everybody ridicules him and you're a blockhead and blah, 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 blah. And isn't it so timely of a look into what our culture does to us in this movie? Now, I love the holidays. I love the lights. I love everything about the holidays. And it's my intention behind it. It makes me feel good. So my intention for the holidays, I don't go out and buy a lot of stuff. I just don't. I have a few people that I buy for, and that's it. I'm done. And if I do want to do other things for other people, I bake. I know, believe it or not, I bake. But that's what I do. Like I'll bake like homemade cranberry bread or some kind of homemade bread that they can enjoy and savor, with their family, or just savor by themselves and have that nice morning treat, that time for reflection. Have a nice, cup of coffee or whatever, tea, and a nice slice of homemade cranberry bread. So I kind of do those things because my intention is, take that time. And I think Charlie Brown, he's fighting the system. He's being very contrary to what society is telling him to do. Commercialism, commercialism, commercialism. And even Lucy speaks of that. We all know that, Charlie Brown. But they continue to do it. So why I love Charlie Brown, he's so authentic, he stands for himself. And when he picks the Christmas tree, he's authentic. He wants the real thing. I myself too. I always buy a real tree. I don't care how many pine needles get on the floor. I don't care if I'm picking them out in spring or summer. It brings me back to Christmas. I don't care about all that. I don't care about having the perfect thing, right? So the reason I love Charlie Brown so much is he's so authentic. He's found himself. Now he's in the world trying to be who he is. And he gets stomped on a lot for it. But you know what? He continues to do it. And isn't that what we all need to do? Because once we sell out ourselves, what do you got? Where's your integrity? And even he gets ridiculed, And I think what's so interesting about this movie is his friends, especially Linus, has the compassion for him and realizes that Charlie Brown is just telling his truth. And so it's fun how they all come together and gather around him and support his truth. So, and there's the hero's journey. He's out buying a Christmas tree, and he could have got the big commercial Christmas tree, but he didn't. He stood in his truth and made the hard decision. He made the hard decision. And he went back and he got ridiculed for it. But he stood in his truth. And I'm going to tell you, I know for myself, I always want to live in my truth, and it is hard. And you get beat up for it. And you don't feel like you fit in. And that's okay. You got to stand in your truth, because the more you stand in it, the more the universe conspires to bring people to you that are in their truth. But you got to take the first steps. So that's why I love Charlie Brown. I know, I'm going deep. I always do. It's so much fun. Especially if you're into going deep. If you're not into going deep, you're probably not watching this video. So, and the next one too, A Wonderful Life. Oh my God. I mean, how much more is this about what we're fed in society? How much does this movie resonate with the conditioning of society? Oh my God. It's just like, this movie is a mirror for what we all need to start looking at and start questioning. I was blessed that I had a 7-year tsunami, which was now like 10 years ago. Early 2000s. Was it early 2000s. Yeah, I think it was early 2000, mid 2000s. But it let me start seeing how conditioned I was to fulfill this societal need, this cultural need, this conditioned fear, I believe, space. Because if you don't reside in that cultural systems of feeding the systems, whatever system it is, it could be government systems, it could be school systems, educational systems, your family systems. You're feeding those systems. You're feeding the one system. But how are you feeding yourself? So George Bailey is just like, he feels lesser than that he didn't go to college. Feels lesser than, I don't have 17,000 degrees. And I was like, oh, I've got my master's. I've got this. What do you have? Why is that important? And it used to really bother me, and it doesn't bother me anymore. It's because I've learned so much experiencing my life. And I think the Wall Street Journal, the Washington Post said 69% or 62%, some Google it, 62% of people that go to college don't even use their degree. It's because we're fed this idea that if you don't go to school, you don't go to college, you won't be successful. And if you don't listen to what the professor's saying and do what they say, then you're stupid. I'm like, dare we be different? Oh my God. Right? And then George Bailey, he fights. He's fighting the system. He's fighting against Potter. Let's enslave people in shitty little houses. What do they matter? We all matter. And George Bailey sees that we all matter. So he's on a crusade to fight that paradigm. So the whole It's a Wonderful Life is such a beautiful movie because it really mirrors what's happening in society. And it's still happening today. And it's been happening for probably thousands of years. Sorry, my dog's shaking. He's shaking at me. Go lay down. And so it's just one of those things. Oliver's joined us. He's been watching. He loves Charlie Brown because Snoopy's in it. So I digress. Sorry. Distracting squirrel. My personality type. Bear with me. So George Bailey, has that. He's on the hero's journey. And he just gets so frustrated with it. He gets so beat down because it's hard. It is hard to fight the system. It is hard to fight the system. And he does it and does it and does it. And sometimes you just get beat down. And I think that's what was part of my 7-year life tsunami was. I was so beat down, but then I just cried out like, I can't do this anymore. It was so unaligned with who I was. It was exhausting me. And he too got exhausted. He just became exhausted by fighting and fighting and fighting, thinking he doesn't make a difference. And yet each of us here make a difference. And he realizes in that moment when he makes the choice to continue to fight the good fight. And that's what we're here for, to continue to fight the good fight. Right? So he's got a very interesting, I think, dynamic of how society and culture and education just fights us and tries to get us into their system. It's not the way it's supposed to be. Yes, we have to live within society, but we don't have to live or be, what's the word I'm looking for? Beholden to any system. We are creatures of divine. We are human beings created from divine intelligence. We're not beholden to any human system on the planet. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. So why are we succumbing to this lower frequency energy? It's because we've been taught to. Because how powerful we really are, it would crash those systems. And that's what's happening right now. Systems are crashing because people are realizing how freaking powerful they are. Divine intelligence is unlimited. The opportunities are unlimited, but you got to connect into it. Hence the reason personality typing with a spiritual understanding. I want you to rethink yourself. I want you to rethink the role your personality type has in your life. Because once you start rethinking it, you can go and do whatever you want. You can go live your dreams. I don't care if you go live on an island by yourself. You can do whatever your soul desires for you to do, because we're all here for a purpose and a reason. Just like George Bailey realized that, how much he did do and how much he affected people. And he wasn't some rock star, some stupid superstar. He was just at a bank grinding it out, just like all of us. We're here to grind it out. But your place on the stage, whether it's in your home, in your backyard, on a public stage, on a private stage, is just as important as anybody else. And probably more important, because you're not distracted by all the fear and the ego and all those things that pull you in, you know? Like, I have to do this, I have to be this, you don't do that. You're fighting a hard fight. But it's a wonderful life. George Bailey realizes he has a wonderful life. And I think that's what we all need to recognize, is that we have a wonderful life because we are beautiful human beings ready to live soul-centered lives. And our soul is trying to awaken that and get the fear out of us and the ego so it can start working through your personality. Because your personality is how you show up. You can't show up as a soul. You're having a human experience, so you've got to show up as a human. And how you do that is you work through your personality type. We're going to get a lot more into that next year, but let's just continue with the movies. I know I'm going on. Oh, another one too, A Christmas Carol. Don't you love it? And I'm going to talk about this in my book, The Soul's Role in Personality Typing. Don't change yourself. Find yourself. You have to find yourself. And Scrooge, and as we all do, we get beat down in childhood a lot. That beautiful childhood personality type, right? That's open-minded, that has no fear, that's fearless, that's ready to go out and conquer the world. And you can see that you have a different personality type, and I'll tell you how to do this. It's real easy. In childhood, and I come from a family of 5. I'm one of 5 children. And it's funny, all of my brothers and sisters, we all have very different looks and views about our childhood. Well, Dad was this. Really? I didn't see that. You know why? It's because your personality type is here to serve your soul and your soul's mission. So of course you're going to see things differently. But what happens is I go back to this conditioning stuff that we get so conditioned in to believe that, we have to have the car and the house and the 2.5 kids. What the hell is 2.5 kids? I don't ever understood that. And to make all this money and then maybe that's not who you are. But damn it, you've been told you need to be a millionaire by the time you're 30. How many times have you heard that? And how many people are having quarter life crises now because they think they're not good enough? Well, look at Scrooge. He got so imbalanced by his personality type. And it was all cloaked in fear. He was never good enough. He had father issues. And this happens a lot with men. I'm going to get the power. I'm going to become so wealthy, right, that I'm going to be recognized. I'm going to be recognized for that. And he goes about doing that and loses his soul in the process. So he becomes this greedy, fearful, unhappy, joyless, soulless man, you know? And he too has the hero's journey where he has to make a choice. Am I going to continue my life as it is? And is this all there is? You know, we might not have 3 ghosts visiting us, but we can surely get glimpses of our life, especially of our past. You know, if you look at your childhood, what did you want when you were a child? Look at that. Because those are the seeds that you need to plant now, if you haven't already, and bring them into your adulthood and bring them into your life. But he's looking at all that. And he realizes that the external world and all the crap, you know, all those false beliefs he's believed about himself, they weren't his beliefs, but they've scarred him. They've shut him down. He went along without questioning anything and just believed that he wasn't worthy because his father didn't deem him worthy. You know, and it's funny, we don't really ever, I mean, I haven't read the book. I know, shame on me. And I'm sure it seems like it alludes that there was a loss. I think he lost his wife. So who knows what his father was going through? We all grieve in different ways. We're all so different. You know, that's why personality typing, it's not a stereotype. You're not stereotypical. All your personality type does is indicate characteristics. And these characteristics are there to support your soul's mission. They just flow through you. And when you have that spiritual knowing and understanding, then you're inspired. That spiritual inspiration, inspirato, I think is what Wayne Dyer used to say, can express through you. And that's what starts happening when Ebenezer Scrooge wakes up. He wakes up and he brings all that joy and he uses his money for good and he starts sharing himself. He not only shares his money, did you notice? He shares himself. He shares his joy. He shares his joy for life and what he can bring to you because he does have the money. So I'm not saying money is a bad thing. It's a bad thing when you're soulless and when it's fear-based and when it's greedy and when you don't give a crap about anybody on the path to make your money. And you don't share it. Money is here to be shared. It's not supposed to be here to hold tight like everyone says, put it in the bank, you know, whatever. Put it in the bank so the banks can use your money. That's what's happening. Again, it's serving their system. It's not serving you. We need. I'm trying to help you rethink things, because once you start rethinking everything and start questioning everything, you have the power to do it by yourself. An independent free thinker that has the power to do things on themselves. I'm just a guide. Here, okay, I'm just a guide. So I want you to start thinking about that. It's very important. Oh, and another one I love is Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Oh, come on, how many of you feel like you've never fit in? I'll raise my hand on that. Me. You know, I have this personality that, you know, you can see I'm enthusiastic and I'm outgoing and stuff, but honestly, I always felt, you know, that I never really fit in. You know, I never wanted to be a part of in high school it was really bad because I didn't want to be a part of a clique, you know, like, you know, high school. So like you've got the jocks and the cheerleaders, and I know we're just assigning roles to people, which is all bullshit, but it's their energy stuff, like, you know, and I was in and out of everything. I mean, in high school, I was bullied all the time. Like somebody set my freaking locker on fire. The principal calls me down and goes, your locker's on fire. I'm like, oh, bummer. Does that mean I get to go home now? And he's like, well, who would do that? I'm like, I don't know. Like, who knows? You know, obviously somebody that didn't like me, or I got on somebody's nerves. Because I could be when I was younger, I was quite obnoxious. An ENTP being obnoxious. Let me see. And not everybody's obnoxious. I mean, I think I got a bigger heaping dose of obnoxious because of my family. I was one of the younger ones, so I had brothers, you know. Anyway, see? I mean, I'm telling you. But Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, you know, he's like they said, he's a misfit. Like, he just doesn't fit in. And again, going back, can you see this cultural conditioning of the reindeer has to be this, and this, these specs, this. Santa's reindeers need to be blah, blah, blah. Do they? How many times have you heard that? I mean, I was in the PR industry and I heard it all the time. Like, why are you showing up dressed like that? What do you mean? Because this is how I dress. I'm not here to impress you how I dress. I'm here to help you think through this stuff. I'm here to get media to your event. I'm here to offer creative solutions for your brand. So who the hell cares? But it was a thing. Again, not fitting in. It was a thing. It was funny, but I managed. But that's a whole other story. But Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer is the same thing. Oh my God, and he feels so bad, he isolates himself. How many of you do that? I do, to recharge. Like, you know, and especially if you're an introvert, it's like, whoa, you know, I can only take so much of this societal stuff, you know? So you go and recharge. You know, you do what you have to do to keep your mental health, you know, to keep yourself, you know, into that non-physical place aspect of yourself, you know, your spiritual place. So Rudolph just goes out, but, you know, and again, it's that social conditioning, it's a cultural conditioning. And I think what's so cool is like all Rudolph's friends, they're like awesome. They're like, let's go on this adventure and go get gold. Okay, that sounds cool. I'm going here anyway. So, and I'm hanging out with this little dentist guy who's cool. I mean, all of his friends are like so cool. I'm like, I am totally hanging out with Rudolph. But that's me. I'm very unconventional. You know, and there's a lot of personality types that are conventional. So they'd be like, probably not so much, you know, and they may have less issues with fitting in. So this might not be their Christmas movie that resonates with them, you know. They might be more of a George Bailey. That's like, you know, I want the convention. I want to go to school. I want to do this, but what happens and all that. So see how different personality types are going to resonate with different things. But it's funny, getting back to Rudolph, the things that they deem unworthy, you know, is exactly what's needed. It's a fresh perspective. It's the unknowing, realizing that, oh, wow, this could work. You know, I do need this. So, you know, it's part of the awakening. You know, so Rudolph becomes a hero. And how many other stories do we see this in real life of people like, oh my God, it was this, and then they turn out to be this major player in whatever industry it's in. This happens a lot. It happens a lot because they're bucking the system. They don't fit the role. You know, they're not showing up just so to feed the system that already is. What's the fun in that? I know for some personality types, it's going to be great because they like that consistency. You know, they want to feed the system because that's where they're comfortable. But there's also aspects within that personality type that wants to make it more effective and improve it and bring their perspective to it. So it's not only just one-way thinking, you know, it's like we are all so different. We need to open ourselves up. Like, I don't have to believe in everything you believe, because if you're a real traditionalist, I'm not going to walk with you and go, oh yeah, I believe in all that stuff, because then that wouldn't be true to myself, because I'm very unconventional. But I don't have to disparage you or belittle you. There's no reason for that. And there was no reason for doing that to Rudolph, too. They were afraid. They were afraid. They were afraid of his red nose, which is like bizarre, beyond bizarre, but it is a cartoon, right? But it tells a good story. So many people are afraid of other people that are different. So afraid of people that are different. Why? Ask yourself why. Why are you afraid of people that are different? Are you afraid you're not going to understand them? Are you afraid that they're going to show you something about yourself you don't want to see? What is it? Are you intimidated by them? I don't know. That's a good question to ask yourself. Journal prompt. Okay, and then we have, wait, let's see. Did I do all these already? Oh, I did. Oh, good. Okay. And then my last one I think is really cool too, is Miracle on 31st Street. And one of the reasons I like this one is that, first of all, I got to digress a little bit because they have Doris Walker. I call Ms. Walker. Oh my God. Speaking of stereotypical, she's all this tight ass, they make her this tight ass, bitchy, uncaring person. They got totally screwed by some guy that left her with the kid. The kid doesn't even know the father. And so, what is she supposed to be? I just don't like the whole cliche about the thing. I don't know. I might be overthinking it because that's what I do. But just like, come on now, She could still be obviously she's a cool person, She's in that 1940s, this is the thing, but, she's at Macy's doing all this creative stuff. So she's got to have some creative, zhuzh about her that she's cool. And, I just see it a little different. But anyway, I would because that's my personality. But what I want to talk to you about her, which I think is so, so interesting. And the vast majority of us do this. And it's a rethinking. It's a retraining your mind to think differently. Is that we approach situations and people with our personality type. So we go into a situation thinking like we think. We're human beings, that's natural. But see, what happens is when somebody starts presenting different things to you, you need to step back and say, okay, they're showing me how they think. Now, I'm not saying you have to buy into how everybody thinks, but what I'm telling you here is that you can be open-minded because you might take away some things from them. And see, and then from her perspective, from Ms. Walker's perspective, Doris, she's so, her essential self is what I call your primary trait. Her essential self is so shut down because of the damage that's been done to her through that relationship. She's in protective mode. And when you're in protective mode, your mind will protect you. It will create barriers and defenses and certain behaviors that are very uncharacteristic to who you are to protect you. And all these things, these behaviors and these characteristics, I call them triggers. And what I think triggers are so interesting is a trigger can actually help you discover the fear that's behind the trigger. So when something's triggering you, there's fear behind it, and there's fear behind it based on an unhealthy personality type. So you can step into that. See what I'm saying? So she's barricaded herself from feeling, which is understandable. She just got screwed, especially, thinking of that day and age. And it's any day and age, I know I got left. My whole life changed, I was responsible for taking care of my son. That's just plain and simple. So, these feelings come up. We start protecting ourselves. We start shutting ourselves down. And either you get angry and defensive or you just retreat and you just shut yourself down and you're not open to this. So when her lawyer friend, I have his name in here too. What's his lawyer friend? Oh, Fred Gailey. So when Fred Gailey comes along and is truly interested in her, right, and has an attraction, and he's different though. He's not going to go, here again, he's not going to go by convention. You know, he quits his job to go to trial for Kris Kringle. I mean, who does that? I'm going to go defend Santa Claus. Oh, that's cool. How many people in society would do that today? I'm going to go defend Santa Claus. But it's a belief in his heart, you know? And her personality type is very logical. It's a very logical personality type. And plus, it's unhealthy. So she's over logical. She was nothing. If everything was going good, that's fine. But as soon as he brings up a different way of thinking to her, nope. And he says something that I think is so, here I wrote this quote down. And I love this quote. And listen to this quote. It says, faith is believing in something when common sense tells you not to. And she just couldn't take that in. No. She's like, you're going to give up everything, your security, your big law firm, all that, to go do this? That's not logical. And you don't have my best interest at heart. Well, it's not about your best interest. It's about his best interest. Your best interests are so locked in your fear that you can't see what's good for you. And what happens is her child brings some very awakening moments for her. She too is on that hero's journey, and you have a choice. You're either going to start trusting in someone else, but first you have to trust yourself. And when you trust yourself, it means you're ready. It means you're ready to learn. Because if we start thinking of all the things that happen to us, I include myself here. If you're thinking of all the things that you've gone through, your struggles, your challenges, your pain, which all these characters do, they are in your life to teach you something, to evolve your soul. And everything gets expressed through your personality type. And with that said, your particular personality type that you chose, whether you believe that what I'm saying or not, I believe you chose it. I believe it was divinely inspired specifically for your soul mission on earth, can readily handle anything that comes your way. It can. Right? So, I'm just going to go back here real quick. So in Doris Walker, you know, when she realizes, like, maybe I am wrong, you know, maybe I do need to open this up, you know, and Kris Kringle taught her so much about compassion and kindness. Even when she didn't believe, he kept on going. Again, it's that story of I have to persist, as do you. You have to persist with what you want in your life. Because if you stop, it stops. You have to persist. You have to commit. You have to acknowledge. And you have to see things about yourself you don't like. It's just the way, it's what we're here for. You know? It's what we're here for. So as Doris Walker starts going through that and seeing this and seeing the kindness that's being shown to her and seeing how, yeah, maybe I did shut my daughter down. Maybe I took imagination away from her. Maybe I took creativity away from her because I told her she couldn't believe. Don't ever let anybody tell you can't believe. That's an overreach. That's what society tells us every day. We gotta stop, we gotta rethink that. It's horrible. It's horrible. So, the Doris Walker thing is she finally opens up to, and her personality, her essential stuff starts to become healthy again. She lets this stuff go. She lets it go. She understands now. And she starts balancing herself, bringing herself back into balance. So now when you do that, you're letting the fear go. And that's when divine intelligence can conspire with you to make what you truly want in your life happen. Now, it's always going to be happening within your soul's best interest, your higher self's best interest. So remember that too, because I play, your soul's mission is the role of your life. But when you do allow that fear to go, things will start happening magically and unfolding in your life that brings those things to you. She got those things brought to her. So my journal prompt to you, after all that, is to pick your favorite holiday movie. I picked 5. There's a billion. I think I gave you a list for 100 holiday movies. Some are horror movies, so I don't know how that works, but I don't watch horror movies. But so pick yours. And I didn't even put Christmas with the Cranks. I love it. I love so many movies. And Elf too, another one. But there's so many movies. So pick 1 or 2, or pick your favorite. Watch it, and then journal about it. What's the journey? What's the hero's journey? And what's the tipping point? Where does the choice come in? And I'm telling you, you can't make a choice that's in your best interest if you're not awakened to it. So you have to be awoke to make the choice that's right for you. And how you're awoke is you start looking at your fears. You start looking at that low vibrational energy, those dark, negative shadow energies. That's fear that we are exposed to every single day. So don't go like, oh my God, I can't. Yeah, you can do this. And I know it's hard. Because we've been indoctrinated. You've been indoctrinated since day one. But it's part of the journey here. It's what you signed up for. It's part of, what you're here for is to grow your soul. I know that sounds crazy. It's like, who would put yourself, I sometimes ask the question, I'm like, why would I, especially when I was going through my 7-year life schema, it's like, why would I ever do this? Why? And, now that I look back, I know why. But going through it was like, oh man, what a shit show. I know I didn't ask for this. But now I realize I did. And that's when you need to start taking responsibility and commit and acknowledge there are things about yourself that you're not going to like. So we all do that. And you know what? That's why this change thing, you can't change those things out of yourself because they're part of your personality type. You can't, it's like taking a puzzle piece going, well, I'm going to take this out because I don't like this. And then the puzzle's never complete. But you can, because that's when you become aware. When you awake, you wake yourself out of the sleeping fear mode. What happens is when you see those triggers coming in and then you really know your personality type, you're like, oh, this is this trait. This is what's happening. This is the fear. Let me work through this. Do you see what I'm saying? So now you have like a, what's the word? Not like a blueprint, but almost kind of like a blueprint so you can trace back to things instead of going, I don't know why I'm doing this. Yeah, you do. It's all in your personality type. It gives you the blueprint to figure most things out in life. And the biggest thing it gives you is it spells out your truth. What's your purpose, what you're here for. It gives you an inkling. I'm not saying it defines you, but it helps you rethink yourself. And you're not here just for your career. You're not here just to make $1 million by the time you're 30. That's not the reason you're here. Just not. I know I'm freezing. So anyway, that's what's on the blog. So give it a good read if you're so inclined. Like, subscribe, share this video with people you think that they might benefit from it. Because I think the messages in all these Christmas stories, as I started out this video by saying, is they've become so popular and they resonate so deeply with us, is because it's aspects of ourselves that are looking to evolve and grow. And you notice they don't really change who they are. George Bailey doesn't change. Charlie Brown doesn't change. Doris doesn't change. Scrooge doesn't really change. He's still this rich, crazy, bachelor dude, what happens is he transforms, he becomes more enlightened and shares more of himself. The self that's happy and joyful, that can make the money. And that can bring that to other people that need it. So he doesn't change into this slick dude, that's whatever. He's still him. So, anyway, you guys, like I said, subscribe, share, invite your friends to watch. Have a movie watching party. That'd be fun, like a Christmas movie. And then journal and go, what do you guys think? Well, what's your thing? And how does that work? It's fun. It's fun. It's fun to build community around that, because I'll tell you what, we're all going through this transformational shift on the planet, and many of us are facing a lot of life crises. Like as read, there's this quarter life crises and midlife crises. It's all the same thing. People want a meaningful life. They want to know why they're here. Telling you why you're here. You're here to co-create with God and fulfill your soul mission. I know that's nebulous, but once you start digging into the personality type and then start working your spirituality through your personality type, everything will come to you. I know that sounds ridiculously easy, and it's not, because working through your personality type is a commitment that's going to be for the rest of your life. But if you start taking the small steps, you'll start seeing results, like quickly. So anyway, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate it. Have good cheer, have love in your heart, gather with people, support one another if you can, however you can. But it's the intention behind the season. And for me, it's always like, I want to bring unexpected joy to people. That's why I show up at people's doorsteps with like bread or something. They're like, what? This is so cool. I can't believe you made this. Thank you so much. Or just a handwritten card. It's just little things, just little things. But I think they matter. But that's me. What matters to you? Okay. Love you guys. Thanks for listening. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks just for being here for me. Appreciate it. All for now. Nina.